young, rich lister Aaron Hornleyman's Elenium setting aside a court $200 million to bankroll pandemic-hit airlines and airports rebuild infrastructure at a time where capital investment is almost as hard to find as a wandering backpacker. To walk us through the plan, Aaron joins us now live. Aaron, great to have you on the program. So $200 million is a lot of money. What are you looking to do here?
Sure, thanks for having me today. We've built a program which we call Voyager, which is designed to remove the capital cost barriers of putting in automation technology into airports. We think that's especially important in regions that have large domestic travel like Australia and New Zealand, because we're actually seeing passenger numbers grow. Whilst there might be blips with lockdowns, etc., we are actually seeing a lot of domestic travel happen. And so the aging infrastructure they have in place needs to be upgraded to manage that demand. But obviously, with what's happened with the pandemic, the constraints that have been put on the capital base for airlines and airports, we wanted to remove that barrier and effectively turn it into a consumption-based model.
Yeah, so what is some of the innovation here? Walk us through some of your ideas.
So we're really talking about making a seamless end-to-end passenger journey. So people check in at home on their mobile phone. We implement biometrics so you can take effectively a selfie and then go to the airport, drop off your bag. It instantly recognizes you, go through the terminal, including security, straight to the lounge and to the boarding gate without ever really having to touch a touch screen, a bag tag or a boarding pass. And we think that seamless experience gives other benefits to the airlines and the airports. It means passengers have more time to spend in the retail environment. They've got more time to spend in the lounge, etc. And so there is a drive toward increasing ancillary revenue for the airlines and airports as well.
And are you operating in any airports at the moment?
Yeah, so Elenium's currently in 19 airports globally, all the way from smaller airports, regional airports like Avalon Airport and Queenstown in Australia, all the way to large airports like Hong Kong International Airport, Sydney, Auckland, and we've been implementing into Vienna as well, into Doha Airport as well.
And given that air travel is pretty much zero when it comes to Australia in particular, why is this now the right time? Is it that because you have scope to make these plans and then preempt the demand that's eventually going to come?
Well, if we think about international travel, yes, that's quite limited at the moment, but domestic travel is actually rebounding quite quickly, even with these little blips with the lockdowns that happen. We look at some of the airports in Queensland, they were up back at pre-COVID numbers prior to the current lockdown. So we're actually seeing there is an insatiable drive for Australians to travel domestically, I guess because they don't have the options to go overseas. People are more travelling and seeing regional areas, and that's really, we think, quite exciting for those regional areas. So whilst the program is a global program, we are focusing particularly on Australia and New Zealand.
And so who are the partners here? Is it the airports themselves, or do you partner with airlines as well?
Both, really. There are different type of environments. So there are some airlines that have dedicated terminal space, and so they will partner with the airline. There are others that actually share the terminal space with multiple airlines, and that quite often means that the airport is the person who's implementing the solution.
And $200 million, is that all going to be spent here in Australia?
No, it is a global fund, but again, we're really focusing on Australia and New Zealand to begin with. But really, we are starting to see more passenger growth numbers happen across the globe. So if you think about the 4th of July weekend in the United States, over 10 million passengers travelled just last weekend, and that's an amazing resurgence compared to what it was last year.
And what sort of technology is there out there? Do you have many competitors?
So there are a number of competitors out there. We don't really see them necessarily having that full end-to-end experience developed. Quite often it's a quilt work of solutions that are tied together. And we think really where some competitors are missing the point really is around how they can use self-service and automation, not just to get better passenger efficiencies, but to really drive ancillary revenues for the airlines and the airports. And obviously everyone trying to recover from the pandemic, generating more revenues is something that's going to be of key interest.
Yeah, so you're spending this money on technology then as well, like innovation.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it really is all about digitization. So if you can make the whole airport experience digital, you really do free up a lot more space. You make it much more confidence building for passengers because they're not in such a congested area. They've got more time to be able to shop in retail. They can also look at, experiences, bookings, booking car travel, etc. At the next destination, all at the airport. And so we think implementing technologies that incentivizes that, building technologies that makes the passenger experience far more comfortable, really will help drive the growth, especially in domestic and regional travel.
Aaron, you're making me miss being at the airport. I must admit, I must miss travel a lot. Thanks so much for joining us, though, with an update this afternoon.
Thank you for having me here.